so that they take ownership on it, because essentially they're the ones that are executing it. They're the ones that are going to build basically who you are.
Now, when you came to the Fleet Marine Force, you took command of 2nd Platoon, Lehman Company.
Correct.
3-7.
Right.
And can you say something about the personalities of your platoon sergeant and squad leaders?
I had two real solid sergeants who essentially were my platoon sergeants, more or less. My first platoon sergeant was right out of a history book, you know. Very hard, very square-jawed, very, you know, overbearing, you know, and I was the butter bar lieutenant coming in, and, you know, lieutenants are seen and not heard, you know. They express their intent through their platoon sergeant who's been in for 15 or 16 years, and they enforce your intent, and you sit back and, you know, you plan future ops, whatever, you go to the gym and lift. But eventually, you know, he that initial platoon sergeant, he ended up executing orders, and then I ended up getting another platoon sergeant, which was more or less not like that. He was definitely more of a, hey, you know, this is the lieutenant's time to develop, so, you know, he's gonna go out there, you know, he needs to be seen, he needs to be vocal. Him and I had a real good working relationship, as I did with the others, just different types of personalities. But he ended up blowing his knee out, so I ended up having these two sergeants, Sergeant Morlock and Sergeant Wilder, who Wilder ended up, you know, being with me with OIF too. Both phenomenal sergeants. I had them when they were both very, very junior. Both of them had different personalities, and with those different personalities, their squads developed their same kind of approach, same kind of attitude. Wilder was definitely a meat eater, very proficient. Morlock was more of a thinker, more methodical, very technical. You know, had multiple MOSs, spent some time in the wing for a while.
But Sergeant Wilder, was he the squad leader for Super Squad?
Correct. He was, and squad leader for Super Squad, I happened to OIC Super Squad with him, and he won Division Super Squad. You know, got the badge. He was the battalion's primary McMap instructor. He definitely brought McMap into the battalion, incorporated it.
Did he have a positive effect on the Marines and his squad in terms of developing proficiency?
He did. The only thing that might have been a concern to him were the weaker Marines, Marines that might have had some trouble or whatnot and weren't willing to confront it. You always get that I call it that 10% risk or that 5% risk that, you know, if you push them maybe a little bit too hard, then they might turn on you and come up for an opportunity to put something in the spin where they can get you in more trouble than they're in. And in his case, that's what happened to him. One of the weaker Marines who wasn't strong, who wasn't solid, you know, put Staff Sergeant Wilder in a predicament where, you know, it kind of got Staff Sergeant Wilder into a little bit of a hot water. That I think, you know, what the Marine did, you know, being that he went out the wire, not, you know, properly prepped for combat, not having a map, you know, in a very volatile environment. Do I think he might have deserved to get popped? Yeah, it happens. It happens. But, you know, in the professional form, you know, as a leader and as a staff NCO, are you supposed to do that? No, you're not. I know for a fact that, you know, there's been times, whether it's in my company or others, where, you know, somebody's gotten popped in the mouth or someone's gotten punched in the chest because the other person was out of the box. And the only reason why they did that was to snap them back into reality. But every now and then, you got to be real critical who you decide you're going to do that to, because if that person's extremely weak link and that person has some serious low self-esteem, they might push that back on you and try to, you know, inflict, you know, some damage to your career. So you got to be real critical.
What about your relationship with Captain, now Major Schreffler? He was your commanding officer in Lima?
He wasn't mine. He was a company commander. I was in the 3 shop when he went over. He was my advisor, not my. He was one of my instructors though at ILC.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, he was an advisor, and in fact, he was in my house of pain as the recorder. Evaluated me as a student platoon sergeant in one of the training packages at ILC. But I was impressed with him then. He was just that. There was something about him. I think it's, a lot of people say that, oh, he's just, he's extremely smart, he's a team builder. But I think those are just, some people are just ingrained with that. I think that's just his personality, to be just that person, that team builder, that teacher, that mentor, And when I found out he was coming to 3-7, I couldn't wait for him to, get here. And I was kind of hoping he was going to Lima Company. Then found out he was going to Kilo Company. And I think Captain Curious was initially slated for Lima Company. No one knew about him at all. Seeing him as a 3 definitely was a godsend.
So after you commanded 2nd Platoon Lima, you went to the S3 shop.
I went to the 3 shop, yeah.
And how was that experience?
Well, if you want to hear the Marine Corps side, it was educational, it was beneficial.
We want to hear your side.
Real side, I was miserable. It was a lot of learning through osmosis. Definitely, it is a post-career level school captain's job. And it need to have some clout or have some weigh-in. You probably want to have 2 bars on you. Myself, going to the 3 shop, I had been a first lieutenant for all of grand total 5 months. My boss, the OPSO, was my company officer at the Naval Academy. So him and I had established a working relationship. How I got the job was the battalion commander asked me if I wanted to be a 3 Alpha. He was looking for one, and not knowing then what I knew now, I said yes. It was a very centralized type of leadership. I didn't think it was very decentralized the way things are running now. A lot of the decision-making authority was definitely kept at the I call it the trinity, between the CO, the OPSO, and the XO. A lot of authority was held there. I remember going to staff meetings, and staff meetings felt like you were on pins and needles, because it was like each, primary or every rep that would go around the table, you had to make a stand against the shark tanks, I like to call it, which was the OPSO, the XO, and the CO. And, depending on, which day it was, one would be in a good mood or bad mood, and someone would get amputated. But I learned a lot. Marine Corps planning process, and I can say this, with the amount of friction and the amount of stress that was thrown at me, and not being able to show weakness, and it's just, once again, it's kind of like football. You can't fall down, because if everyone sees you collapse or have a breakdown, then you no longer can be depended on. And once again, you're not the starting lineup. You're not #1 guy. You're 4th string now.
Did the knowledge of the ops order process from the 3 shop help you as a company commander,
Definitely,
company XO?
Definitely, because I could communicate the battalion now. Because as a lieutenant, I was communicating the regiment, and I was communicating the company commanders who weren't my peers in any way, shape, or form. They were all much senior to me. They were all captains and major selects, and I had to put myself in a manner where I was professional, competent, and confident, most of all.
And how did you end up going from the S3 Alpha to Company XO of Lima Company?
That one there was, at first I wasn't too thrilled about it, because my peer group was getting ready to head off to B billet, and they all had their orders. And at this point, I was trying to find the proper word, bewildered, being in the 3 shop, not quite seeing the vision or seeing any direction. Things started to get real stagnant for me. I felt, an infantry Marine without task and purpose is just another Marine. So The XOs